Everybody look good? Check, check.
I look alright.
Huh?
Nah, I said I look alright.
Check, check. 1, 2, 3.
Sure. Wait, what's that? Oh, okay, because I heard 3, 2, 1. I'm assuming that was the other side. Okay. Yeah.
On the next episode of no, I'll start off. Ready when you are. What's going on, everybody? On the sorry, you know something? Can we start that over? I'm not even gonna hold you. That messed me up on the other side.
Yeah,
like hearing the other guys.
Same too. Same.
No, you're good. Because we started at like the same time, but I got you. What's going on, everybody? On another amazing episode of the Real Estate Blueprint Podcast, I am your humble host, Austin, a.k.a. More Than an Agent. Here with my Dominicano hermano, John Soto. John does real estate. How you holding up, boss?
Doing wonderful, man. Feeling great. Woke up great. Feeling great for 2025, man.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Let's keep that aura going.
Let's keep it.
We'll tap into today's episode. Today's guest has been in the game almost 2 decades. At this point, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
2 decades. Heavy hitter, has seen it all, has seen crashes, has seen expansion, rising markets, contracting markets, markets in which foreclosures were heavy, markets in which, there was a lot more distressed property. And we definitely want to be able to tap into her expertise on what she believes our particular market is going to be going in regards to tax sales, which is a big focal point on what people have seen all over the internet and stuff like that. So we want to get some clarity on that. But today's guest, no other than Kurtia Thomas. Kurtia, I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
We know this is your first podcast episode, but we're going to set you up for success here. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I appreciate you coming on the show for sure.
Thank you for having me.
Let's jump right into it.
Jump right into it. Yeah. Tell us what got you into real estate. I know you're a veteran now, but what started the journey?
What started the journey was I was going into my junior year in college.
Hold on 1 second.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're gonna same question. What started the journey?
Okay. Good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I know you're claustrophobic. Don't smack it down again.
No, I didn't smack it down the first time.
I'm Gucci.
Just go right back into it.
Okay.
All right. So what started my journey was I was going into my junior year in college.
Okay.
I was a intern at New York City Department of Finance, and I was on a summer internship. Found out that I was pregnant with my son.
Okay.
And his dad, sister was an underwriter. She got me my first job in mortgages.
Gotcha.
So I started off opening, and then from there, I kind of just worked my way up.
Okay.
So yeah.
Awesome.
What school?
Virginia State University.
VSU?
Yes.
Shout out to VSU.
HBCU.
So were you doing more traditional lending or non-traditional lending?
So then it was more traditional, and it was wholesale. So so we wholesaled the mortgages, and this was right before the crash of 2008. So I started in 2007.
So you just approve this, approve that, approve this?
So I was opening. So I wasn't approving anything. I was literally disclosing the loan. So,
Gotcha.
So an opener discloses the loan.
Yeah.
So, I go over the fees and everything. And
that was
then
before you got into underwriting.
push it over. Exactly.
Gotcha.
So that's an interesting aspect of it. So you were, in that case, people were willingly signing up for these types of loans. Because usually when you kind of hear the story, it's more predatory where they don't find out until after kind of scenario, or like, oh, I didn't know. But if you're going through them, the fees, the terms, the conditions, and they still were just accepting these like subprime loans like before crash.
Yes. But you also have to remember, too, a lot of buyers are not educated. Yeah. So although I'm going through the fees, that doesn't necessarily mean that they understand what I'm saying to them.
I got you.
So, but yes, this was right before the crash. And then 2008, of course, everything kind of plummeted. So yeah, that's when I started in 2007.
So you said you climbed the rank. What happened in '08? Did you continue to work there? Did you switch over to underwriting? When did you do the switch?
So I continued to work there. The market, of course, crashed. By that point, I was a processor. And I actually jumped out of mortgages and went into foreclosures because mortgages at this point, it was hitting rock bottom. Everybody was foreclosing. And rather than me stick around to see what happened, I hopped on the other side. And that's when I started doing foreclosures. And that's when I learned about tax liens.
Got it. So were you weren't buying foreclosure, you were just processing them on the back end.
Exactly. I was working for a foreclosure firm. So I was doing their city lien redemption and also their title claims. So if there was a claim against a title, to make sure that the lender could foreclose, I would satisfy and cure a title. And then if, say, for instance, someone came, which is what I do now, and I go and buy tax liens, I would make sure that they were paid so they couldn't foreclose on the property, and then the lender could still get the property.
Gotcha.
Give us your aha moment when, because I love the pivot, right? Where, some people might be stuck in their ways and then they're not staying ahead of the curve and kind of going down with the sinking ship. And the pivot from going from the mortgage side now over to the foreclosure side, what was the aha moment that kind of changed your direction more towards tax liens and tax sales?
I would say the aha moment was when it was me and another person working tax sales. And while I was out, she was covering me. She missed a tax sale that needed to be redeemed. And the person that purchased the tax sale, purchased a tax lien, ended up getting the property for like $8,000.
Gotcha.
And that was the
I'd be like, aha.
Yeah, that was the aha moment. Exactly.
Right.
So
Okay.
that was like 2000, I want to say 12.
She got fired?
She definitely got fired. And 2013 is when I hopped into tax sales and started getting them for myself.
What areas were you focusing on?
South Jersey.
Jersey.
Taxes are totally cheap in South Jersey as opposed to Central and North Jersey.
Okay.
So in South Jersey, you can pay taxes like $4,500 for the year still. They're really around like $7,000 or so, except for if you're like in a multi-million-dollar property, it doesn't count, right? But for the most part, the taxes at that time wasn't more than like $4,500. So me and my business partner, who was also my ex-husband, we would go down to South Jersey and purchase tax liens. He would actually go, I would give him the block and lot of what I wanted to purchase. He would go sit in, bid on them, and then we would keep them. And then we would either, we keep them, you collect interest, and they would either pay us if the lien was redeemed. Right. If the lien wasn't redeemed, we had the ability to foreclose and get the property.
So let's dive into the actual. Let's go into it a little bit more. So, what city down in South Jersey?
Camden, Trenton, Burlington.
Interesting.
Yeah. So pretty much, I would target areas where I would feel would just be beneficial to me and that I could get quickly. Right. So I would kind of do my research, see how populated it was, see how many homes was down there, and see who was likely not to pay their mortgage. And unfortunately, when you're hitting more of a urban area, when during this time when things are now going downhill, it's more likely that people are not going to pay their taxes because they can't afford to pay it. Right. So, it sucks on that part for a consumer as far as the buyer, right? Or the person that owns the home. But for the investor like me, it was like a gold mine. Right. And so that's how I ended up doing South Jersey.
Okay. And sorry, one more question, because you brought up something else that took me here. Majority of the people do kind of understand now is that your taxes are being paid in your mortgage. Correct. Right, for the most part. So are they are these people that already own their homes? Do you find the majority are like this, already own the home outright and just don't go to the city quarterly, whatever the case, just to pay their taxes? Or is there ways that this can happen with people with a mortgage as well?
Yes, definitely with the mortgage as well.
Interesting.
So say for instance you have a reverse mortgage where you are now responsible to pay your own taxes.
Yeah.
It usually happens to the elderly, to be honest. So it's either someone's passing away, their kids took over the house and don't realize that they have to pay the taxes. Or it's the elderly who has already paid off their mortgage and don't realize that they have to pay the taxes. And sometimes these properties do have mortgages on them. And sometimes the lenders, they just pay the taxes when they feel like paying the taxes. So if they're not receiving the payment, they take their time because they know that it takes 2 years to actually foreclose if there's a mortgage on the property.
Right.
If there's no mortgage on the property, you can foreclose within 6 months. So at the 6 month mark,
I did not know that.
yes. So at the 6 month mark, you can foreclose on the property if there's no mortgage.
If there's no mortgage.
So I'm assuming you go for the ones with no mortgages.
Absolutely.
Rightfully so.
Yes.
I thought New Jersey just had the right of redemption period 2 years no matter what.
Yeah, so if it's no mortgage, it's 6 months. If there's a mortgage, it's 2 years.
Is it township specific or just across the board?
I haven't seen it township specific. I mean, I always ask when I do go to the tax sales, especially if I'm entering a new town, I will ask. But every town that I've done it in, it's 6 months, exactly. So most recently, last year, I purchased in Edison in South Plainfield, 6 months.
6 months. So before you do a bid, you can check if there's any liens on the property, or do you have to do your own homework before you go?
You have to do your own homework. So, and just so you know, people are coming to these tax sales.
Of course.
They're coming prepared.
Right.
So, I mean, I get outbidded all the time. So, I mean, they're coming with hardcore cash, spending $200K easy because they know they could foreclose on a property that may be worth $1 million.
Right.
You know, so this is not like little money that, you know, they're coming in here with big bucks. Me personally, I'm not dishing out $200K on a property unless it literally has to be like over $1 million. But you got to remember that money is gone.
Right.
You're paying it. You're not getting it back for at least 6 months. And if it's a mortgage on there, me personally, I wouldn't do it.
For 2 years.
Yeah, because it's 2 years you don't have your money.
And let's say you buy it, you still have to pay the taxes quarterly until you can foreclose, correct?
Correct. Yes. So you have to basically you're resuming the responsibility of the taxes. So you need to pay it quarterly.
Okay. So, sorry, because I know we got a little bit off topic. All right. So, from start to finish, just bring us through the process of, you know, kind of your step-by-step process of going after a property that's at a tax sale. First off, where do you find the auction information and that property information on what's going to be available for tax sale and how much they owe?
So you reach out to the municipality.
Okay.
So you do reach out to the municipality, and then you ask them when their tax sale is. I know that tax sales are at the end of the year in the state of New Jersey. So depending on how big the town is, like Newark may have a couple tax sales per year. Another big town is Edison. Edison has a couple tax sales per year. Piscataway, you know. So it really depends on where you're at. Trenton, Camden, these bigger areas, they have at least 2 tax sales per year. But smaller towns like South Plainfield, Rawway, they're at the end of the year. Perth Amboy is going to be at the end of the year. And you basically just go to the municipality and you ask them for the tax sale list. You do have to sign up. I sign up under my LLC. I get the information. You have to fill it out. And then I just go through block and lot. So you do have to do your due diligence.
Do you have to pay anything fees-wise or anything to access that information?
No, this is free information. You get it directly from the municipality.
Okay.
Yep. So, yeah, you get the list, you go through block and lot, and if you don't have the software, it kind of sucks for you because you don't know if it has a mortgage or not. I mean, you can look it up through state and county records, but
manual.
Yeah, but it's very manual rather than having the software where you can just plug it in.
Yeah, pay for title.
Exactly.
Title
to see, because sometimes it may be a private mortgage, you don't know.
Yeah.
So, I basically just plug it into my software, see if it has a mortgage, and if it doesn't have a mortgage, then that's the one that I want.
That's a top candidate.
Exactly. But there are some times where I may purchase something that has a mortgage just to kind of it's like a CD. You just let it sit there and collect interest. Right. You know, if the taxes are not too bad, then I'll just pay for it, and then I'll just let it sit there. It's like another savings account.
So how much interest do you get? I'm assuming it depends.
The max you can get is 18%.
Are you requesting that when you buy it? Or?
Yes. So you're bidding on it. So the lowest bid is 18%.
So when you go, okay, so after you find the property, you identify the property that you have interest in, the end of the year auction or, whenever that date is, you're going in there. Do you have to drop a deposit or anything like that to enter the auction?
No.
Okay, so you enter the auction for free.
Correct.
The auctioneer starts going off, hey, 123 Main Street, that's the one that you want, and just open bidding.
Correct.
Open bidding, okay.
So it starts at 18%. So you're going to raise your hand, 18, that's the lowest.
So you bid on the interest rate, not on the actual...
So you're bidding on the property, but you're bidding on what you're going to get. So the lower you get that's how you win.
Correct.
So you start at 18. 18 is the highest interest. You go low, you work your way up and go down. So my bid for 1% is more appealing than your bid for 18%.
Correct.
Because the town doesn't want to pay you 18%. They would want to pay me the 1%.
Correct.
You get it?
Okay, so the actual amount that is owed on the taxes, that stays the same as the percentage you're bidding.
Correct.
And so there's no bidding wars
Someone
as
can
far
go
as...
0.000001.
That's actually interesting.
And you get into premiums then. It's like a whole science behind it.
No, I want to keep going into this. This is good because I thought you bid on the actual amount, and then if they owed $50,000 in back taxes, then you're like, hey, I'll buy the lien for $55,000. Somebody else is like, I'll buy it for $75,000. I'll buy. No, so you're bidding on the actual percentage that you would take, and then whatever that upset value is, $50,000. You pay the lien, and then then you're collecting your interest.
Exactly. So you're paying the taxes that are due during that time.
And that's it.
At that time, exactly. What you're bidding on is the actual interest or premium. So if you do get to zero, which happens a lot, now you go into premiums. Now this is when it gets very expensive because
Break that down for us.
All right. So now the premium could go for 123 Main Street, $100 premium. Someone go $200 premium. Now I'm kicking off $1,000 premium.
That basically you're paying the town?
I'm paying the town the taxes plus giving them an additional $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. So this is how
it goes reverse.
Exactly. And this is how these other businesses come in and they're paying $200,000 because they're paying $200,000 on the premium, not for the actual taxes.
Gotcha.
Does it
And
make
they have
sense?
to pay that premium quarterly?
No. So they pay the premium one
premium?
time. You pay the premium one time, but you still have to pay the taxes quarterly.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so that's how that works.
Let's say you buy a tax lien. First quarter you don't pay. Second quarter you don't pay. Do they take it back from you? Or
No, you're still good. Because remember,
Okay.
these tax sales are annually. So this is why I prefer to go to tax sales that have it once a year.
Okay.
Because honestly speaking, if I purchase something, which I did actually, I don't know what I was thinking, but I purchased something in December where I got the lot incorrect. And so I purchased a row of basically businesses. And the taxes on that is like $20,000.
a quarter.
Exactly. And so I purchased it. I paid the premium. And now I'm sitting here like, do I want to pay these $20,000 every quarter when I know that there's a mortgage on this property and they're going to just redeem it? So you got to think about these things, because if you make an error, it could be very expensive error. I could pay the $20,000 on the taxes, but then I'm not going to see this money back for at least 2 years, and then it's going to be $80,000, which is going to turn into $160 by the time the mortgage company comes in and basically stop me from foreclosing. Mortgage companies are not going to give the properties away for just the taxes unless
They have a processor that forgets.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep. And that's why they hire the law firms, because the law firms are literally doing their due diligence to make sure that nobody can come in and pay. So if you have like a mechanic's lien, you have the tax lien, a creditor, or anybody, they are making sure that this stuff is paid. So Joe Schmo can't come in and get the property for a few dollars.
They're cheap.
So they have residential, commercial. Is there anything other stuff within tax liens? Just residential, commercial, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Industrial? No, right?
No, but they do have land.
Okay.
So yeah,
Ooh.
I've bought land before where I've paid for it and was able to sell it.
Have you thought of do you only do this in Jersey, or have you thought of taking this to other states?
I did think of taking it to other states. The only thing is I am very hands-on, so I would want to be present, during the bidding process. And then not only that, I want to learn the area as well. So I'm still thinking about it right now, and I probably would, if I was to do it other states, I would do PA, Delaware, and probably New York.
Okay. So you could bid on these virtually?
No, you have to go. You have to be in person. Yes, it's
okay.
at the municipality. So you have to be there in person.
Would you be able to? Because I heard you earlier when you were talking about like wholesaling mortgages, right? But would you be able to wholesale your tax certificate?
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, not so much the tax sale certificate, but you can wholesale the property for sure. So there's been a time where I've gotten a tax sale for, maybe $4,000, $5,000. Now I have this garage. What am I going to do with a garage in Camden? Nothing. Right. And then you turn around and you sell it for $50,000. That is a form of wholesaling. I just wholesale my own property, basically.
So you didn't foreclose on the person. You just sold.
No, I did. You have to foreclose.
Oh, so you foreclosed, then you.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. But you wouldn't be able to say, hey, I already have this spot in line to foreclose. Like, do you want my spot in line for $50,000, and then you finish off the process?
No, because you do have to record it with the county.
Because you don't own it.
Exactly. Because you remember, you're still, you recorded the tax sale lien, but the property technically is still the owner's.
Correct.
So you have to foreclose first. So
Gotcha.
when I purchase something, like I just recorded my tax certificates, and you have 90 days to record it from the date of the sale. But you have to record it. And once you record it, now you're that lien holder. So when people pay taxes, they're going to see my name on there as well. Gotcha. So like when they go to pay the taxes, if they pay it, they know that I have it. And if they don't pay it, I'm coming to get it.
So what happens if you don't file within 90 days? Do you lose that money that you put in?
You can lose the money. It depends on how good you get with the municipality.
Gotcha.
I only go places. Exactly. I only go I build a relationship with the people at the municipality. So if I do forget, which I'm not supposed to, but if I do forget, I may still get the money, but I may not get the interest.
Oh, okay.
You get it? So
Gotcha.
It's very important and very crucial to record, because how can you foreclose on something and you haven't recorded it to confirm that you're the owner of that lien?
Right. Right.
So you have to record it.
So let's pivot to the foreclosure process. So it's 6 months has passed.
Mm-hmm.
What's the process? Take it through that process.
So 6 months has passed. You could do the paperwork yourself. I wouldn't suggest it, because if there's an error, you have to start all over again. So I would suggest getting a foreclosure attorney to basically start the foreclosure process. You send out the notice of intent. Once the notice of intent, or it's a notice of default, once that's sent out, they have time to respond, 30 days, no response. You just go.
Done deal.
And it's expedited.
Knock
exactly.
the door down, and that's it?
Yeah, so, you have to still go through the process of foreclosure, but it's very quickly. Because New Jersey is a judicial state, it still takes a little bit of time, but it's not as like a normal foreclosure process, So it can be, I don't want to say that it's expedited, but it just doesn't take as long as a normal foreclosure. Because a normal foreclosure could take you a long time.
Right.
But this here is more of it's like a speedy process.
So
due to the tax,
potentially within
due
7 months.
They haven't
due
paid
to
taxes.
the tax liens. Yeah,
exactly.
So potentially within 7 months of the
it's yours.
Once you buy the
exactly.
it's yours.
Yeah, so you wait the 6 months. After the 6 months, within another 6 months, so you say a year total, you'll have the property.
And has there been an instinct? Let's talk about some horror stories. You got any horror stories? Like once you foreclose, you try to get into the property, you can't get in, or anything like that?
No, I've been lucky. I don't have any horror stories.
Listen,
wow.
Keep it like that.
Keep it like that.
To your point, I had an individual that was trying to offload this property that he bought at tax lien, the attorney messed up. So yes, you do have to have an attorney. You have to have a good attorney too, because apparently he spent the money for this tax lien, but they never foreclosed on it properly. And I guess there were still like people out there. I mean, obviously it's always like that, right? Where you have whoever were the heirs or next of kin or whoever the case, and they didn't properly get notified or however the situation happened. But he got stuck with the property. It was bad because he got his partner involved, and it was a whole entire mess. How much does a good attorney cost to go through the foreclosure process?
So if there's not being contested, it should run you probably around $6,000 or so.
Okay.
5 to 6,000. Some, you know, I do work with a particular firm. They're pretty good. I used to work there, so you know
that helps.
Yes, that helps big time.
Yeah.
So it's not too bad, but it should cost somewhere between like 5 and 6,000. You do want to make sure that you have a good attorney, because if they do not notify, you know, whoever they say next to kin or whoever, you know, the executor of the estate if the person is dead, you know, they can contest it, and then that's when it becomes very expensive, and sometimes it's not worth it, you know.
Right.
So so you want to make sure like your attorney, basically I always tell my attorney, put it in some type of publication, so this way they can't say, put it in a newspaper, so this way they can't say like it's public notice, you know. It's not my fault if you didn't read the newspaper, because sometimes you can't serve someone. So if you can't serve someone, the attorney's job is to now make it public. It's now public. And as soon as it's public, then there's no contesting that you didn't get served or you wasn't notified.
But that's weird, because who reads the newspapers?
Listen.
And that will literally just eliminate, because like sometimes it's very hard to like find errors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like if you just posted... And how do you know, right? Like, what if they was living in Chicago and you posted in the Essex County newspaper, right? And then,
now, but wouldn't you do your due diligence if
to
you know
find out
someone, if someone passed away that in a house that you were interested in or you knew was coming, you would do your due diligence.
Oh, for sure.
Okay, so
You
this
know
is
what I'm
only
saying?
for someone that passed away. So let's say
So not only passed away, but this is for someone who passed away.
Okay, because that's what I was gonna. My next
But you would try
question
as
was
best as
gonna be-
possible to find the heirs and probably some type of location. So yeah, I'm definitely with you on that. It's just I find that interesting that all you would have to do. I don't want to say all you have to do, but it could possibly work.
I see it from their side because it's been
It's been
taxes
long.
owed.
Exactly.
It's been wild. It's been 6 months, and then they started the foreclosure process. So it's not just 30 days. It's could be a year plus.
Exactly. Because remember, you got to go through the tax sale.
Yeah.
You have to wait at least 6 months.
How long
And now
does it-
you have to go through the foreclosure process. So
that's a
when
year
do
plus.
you actually come in? Are you now coming in just because you know I'm taking over the property?
Mm-hmm,
No. If you're interested in a property, or you know that someone passed away, or you know, God forbid, like it was a parent, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know that your parents at this house. Why are you not checking to make sure that the taxes are being kept up with? Especially if you want it, because technically you would be next in line to get. I mean, you have to go through probate and everything else if you're not, you know, left in a trust. But still, you would do your due diligence.
That's a good
so
point.
exactly. So now it's not my problem if you read the paper or not. Like I hate to say it like that, but it really isn't. You know. So
No, that makes
It's
sense.
it is what it is. But sorry. So how long does it take to go into the tax lien? Is it 2 quarters without paying, 1 year without
A
paying?
year.
1 year without paying. So that's when it comes to the tax, and they can sell it. in the
Yes.
sheriff's sale.
That
Yes.
following year.
Yeah.
Yep, that following year.
So it could potentially be 2 years depending on the township.
Depending on the
because-
township, yeah. So I mean, for the most part, it's a year though. A year of no taxes. They're going to tell you you're going to be on the tax sale list. Yeah. So
And
then
if they make one payment, would that remove them from the list, or do they have to
Yes,
go up
'cause-
to date?
no, because some people do come and they make that little
One
1/4
payment. Oh,
payment
yeah.
to
Yeah.
get them off the list.
And then it
yes,
starts them over
yes.
again.
Exactly.
Starts
So
them
you have to
over,
have a
love.
year behind. Yep.
Is this a strategy that you feel is more beneficial for people that want passive income and just earning the money on the interest, or is this more of a better for a flip, more of a flip type of a play, where you're getting access, you know, to these properties at a little bit more of a discount, and then turn around and selling it, you know, for you know, a much more higher profit? Or is this more of a strategy where you're just, you know, you put some money aside and earning 18% interest, if it even gets to that point, obviously. But
It looks
yeah.
like they're not going. It looks like they're going the
I mean, of
opposite
course,
way, right?
yeah.
Yeah, now, especially because a lot more people are on to it now.
Right.
So when I first started, it was so easy to get a tax sale lien for 18%, you know? But now I'm paying premiums because no one is even bidding at 18%. They're going straight to premiums. But I do think that it is more of a strategy to flip a property.
Okay.
Originally, I did it really to save money because me and my business partner, we were basically just trying to get our feet wet in real estate. And we started off with tax sales. And then from there, we started purchasing property. So I think now my goal, what I do it for now is definitely to flip it.
Okay.
So it's either I'm going to take it and rehab the property myself, or I'm going to do a quick
Wholesale.
Exactly. I'm going to do a wholesale and send it off to somebody else, which I prefer. I don't like to get my hands dirty, so I don't want to be sitting and rehabbing a property. So I'm definitely going to wholesale it and make, 3 to 4 times minimum what I spent on it.
Right. I got you.
Okay. So talk to us about I know you started with the tax lien, then you went into multifamily. Talk to us a little bit about that.
So I purchased my first multifamily in 2016, and what I did was FHA.
That's right.
So that is the way to go.
That's the way to go.
Yes, I always tell people, because people always say conventional, and I am a FHA type of girl, especially if you have a spouse,
Right.
or even if you have a significant other, you get an FHA, I get an FHA.
Oprah.
Exactly. You get FHA, you get FHA. So, yes, but you get an FHA, you do your year, you fix it up, and it's an FHA with a multifamily, not an FHA single.
Right.
FHA multifamily, get it, stay there your year, fix it up, move on to the next property, refinance it out, and that's what we did, and it worked out very well. Sure. And that was like a plus for me, because at that time, that's when I started underwriting. So I started underwriting in 2016.
You can't underwrite your own loans, right?
Yes, I cannot underwrite my own loans.
Okay.
No, I cannot. But I did close my loans in like 2 weeks because I basically underwrote my whole file. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was very easy for my lenders to process to do my loan.
Because you know what they were going to ask for.
Exactly. So I had my letters of explanations all together.
Yeah.
No large deposits, make sure your credit and everything is straight. And it was very easy for me to get my loans. But I did come back from foreclosures and went back into mortgages.
Because the foreclosure were decreasing, or
because not was the foreclosures decreasing, but the salary is pretty stagnant when you're working at a law firm as opposed to working for a lender.
Got you. Okay, so you were still doing. Okay, so you were doing this on the side. You were doing the tax liens part time. So I won't say part time because it'd be full time energy, but like you were doing it on the side while you were still working. You were still working at the law firm.
So I was working at the law firm doing tax sales. Correct. Tax sales was on the side, and then I got back into mortgages.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I left the law firm, went back into mortgages, and then I just continued to do the tax sales, and then started getting property. So,
gotcha. Okay, so you went to foreclosures. Now in underwriting, you were doing FHA conventional underwriting?
Conventional underwriting, correct, yes. Conventional underwriting. FHA, I did not get my DE.
Okay.
So I didn't get the DE, so I was only able to do everything but the credit and the appraisal, because you do need the DE to do
So talk to us a little bit about what you need to become an underwriter. I know you mentioned DE. Let's describe that.
All right, so DE is basically you're designated to do FHA underwriting. So you have to do a bunch of, I believe it's 10 cases that you have to underwrite. And then you're able to, as long as you do well on the underwrite, because you do have QC come in, they're going to check for any errors, you can be a DE underwriter. FHA takes more time. There's more restrictions. So it is a longer process than conventional underwriting. I stuck with conventional because I was paid bonus, and the more files you underwrite, the more you get paid. So it was more of a money thing for me. I wanted to make the money and not necessarily be stuck just taking 4 hours to underwrite a file when I could underwrite a conventional loan in about an hour and a half. So I started underwriting. You have to be a good underwriter, you also have to do cases. So it's not as many as FHA, but you do have a QC that comes in, and they're going to do basically, they call it a quality control of your file, check for any errors. And if you don't have a lot of errors, they'll let you go forward. I think you have to have like less than 5%. And then it depends on the type of error. So you cannot mess up with income. Income is a big thing. Appraisal is also a big thing. So you have to check and make sure, like if I see an appraisal and they don't have the right comps, that is a problem. So if you mess up on the appraisal part and you mess up on the income and the credit, that's it. There's no way you can underwrite.
Right.
So,
But usually
it's a one and done thing.
The places I've worked, it was one and done. So there's like,
I don't blame you, man.
up.
I had to do with the 440
Yeah,
credit score,
because
get the property with 600,000 in equity.
Exactly, because if you mess up on something like that, then now you have a high default rate. Now you have other higher ups to answer to, and you could lose your lending license if you just giving out loans, and now these borrowers are defaulting within the first 90 days. So you have to be very careful when you're underwriting. So I know you're a loan officer, so loan officers.
No, but that's a good perspective for like the buyers out there, the realtors out there, for they can know like the backside of it on why sometimes things take some time. Yes.
It's very important. So, as a realtor now, I kind of pre-screen my clients. I am definitely asking underwriting questions because I need to know, for one, are you going to be wasting my time?
Right.
So, you can't come and say like, yeah, I got a 400 credit score and I need to buy a house and I have no money to put down, so I'm asking like major questions, but that really is what it is. Underwriting is not something that people think is so easy, and it's not, because I have to make sure you could afford that house. And also I have a livelihood. If I am giving bad mortgages, I can lose that. Right. So it's definitely, underwriting is something else. So, yeah.
Which career paths do you love the most? Is it tax lien? Is it being an agent? Is it underwriting?
I say so.
Or anything else that you're doing that's probably separate from real estate?
I do fix and flips.
Yeah.
So I broker loans for investors. Do fix and flips. I will honestly say, like, I love real estate. Clearly, it's gonna be 18 years in July that I've been doing it. So real estate is definitely a passion of mine. I would say that underwriting is probably the best thing, and being an agent. Yeah, those are like my two top things.
Sounds like you're like putting the deal together.
Exactly.
That's what it sounds like.
So it's so easy for me as a realtor because of my underwriting experience. So I can challenge a lender when they say something about my client. Tell
us about your recent challenge you had. I could have sworn I saw a post.
Yes, I actually gave the lender guidelines because his underwriter was incorrect and was giving my client a hard time, and they passed the closing date. We were supposed to close on the 6th of February. It was now the 28th, and we had been issued a time of essence. And
time ago.
Yeah, the underwriter was asking for something that she didn't need, and I literally gave her the guidelines. So I emailed it over to her. Yeah, I pissed them off. So they were mad. They were upset. But my client closed. When I gave her the guidelines, she had to clear to close the same day. So it worked in my favor. But yeah, I mean, I definitely go to bat for my clients. And if the lender is trying to take advantage or like charge points when there's no need to charge points, they try to hit you with, credit score, we're going to hit you with the points. And next thing you know, my client paying $10,000 of points. I'm like, where'd you get the points from? Like, I need you to explain this to me. Like, why are you charging points? Because I do understand there's a reason why points are charged. But if my client has, 800 credit score, putting down a significant amount of money, more than 20%, what are you charging them points for? And if the rate is not great either, So you can't charge my client 3 points and then tell them that their interest rate is 7%. That's like the going rate right now. So what are you charging the points on?
Right.
That's pushing high costs.
Exactly. And if you don't disclose it, I'm going to catch you as well. So I do ask my clients for their LA.
Just hire you on a case by case basis. Like, let's just make sure these numbers is right.
Yeah. So I do consulting, but not for my clients. It's free. But if you're not my client, I am definitely charging.
That's a good sub-service.
I do look at the LE. I want to make sure because if you did not disclose it, I am for sure going to have you. You're going to end up giving my client a lender credit at the end of the process, or I'm going to report you. So yeah, it's definitely a hand in hand, the underwriting and the agent. So
like I said, on a consulting base, one by one, because that's stuff that, I'm pretty sure is definitely helpful. And a great value
lot
proposition as well.
Yeah, a lot of predatory lending still going on around there, unfortunately.
Yes, definitely. There is definitely a lot of predatory lending. Unfortunately, in our community, we're not taught these things, and we get taken advantage of a lot. So I like to just make sure that my clients are educated, that they know what to look out for, and if they have any questions, of course I don't overstep, but I do leave it open for them to bring it to me. And when they do, then I do my due diligence, because at the end of the day, it's my duty to make sure that they have a great experience and that they're not taken advantage of, because I don't want them to close and then they're like, well, how do I end up paying this amount? And I was told I was paying this amount. You as a lender may look bad, but you're also making me look bad because I'm the agent.
Right.
So, I have to just make sure I protect myself at all times. I don't want anybody to come back and say that I didn't tell them something or that I allowed something to happen when I knew it wasn't right.
So, have you seen like the underwriting for banks change since you started in the business, like 2016? Has it gotten tighter? Has it gotten looser? What have you seen?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of both.
Okay.
On some aspects, it's tighter than it was in 2008 for sure.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, that was about
but they do find, creative ways to get around some things, and I won't necessarily say get around, because everything, of course, would be legal. But, they may say, all right, well, you got to wait an extra 2 weeks to collect a paycheck. Like if you're coming back from disability or something, or they may find a way to tie in your new self-employed business with your last job that you've had. So this way you don't have to have 2 years of the, same income or same W-2, I should say, as long as in that same line of work, we could make it work, so I do feel like now underwriters are a little bit more personable. Because before, when I first started underwriting, it was definitely more black and white.
Nope.
Exactly.
More process-based.
Exactly. It was definitely more black and white. Underwriters didn't want to see gray. And then I feel like as, more underwriters started coming in, it kind of getting a shift. Because when I started, all the underwriters were like...
Old?
Yes.
Old white ladies?
Older.
I can imagine. Old white ladies?
Yeah.
Yes.
Shout out to my old white ladies out there.
But yes.
Shout out to all the underwriters that make the world go round.
Yes. But they were older. So, I was at every company that I worked at, I've always been the youngest underwriter. They're usually talking about like 50 plus. And even when I first started underwriting was like 28, 29. And everyone is like 55, they're on their way out the door. And here I am, this young one coming in, so I think as the underwriters, more people that started looking like me and being my age, as we started coming in, we're now looking at ways to not just deny a loan, to make it to where your borrower can still afford it, but you got to just be creative with it. You got to pay down some debt. This car needs to be paid off. Oh, you have less than this many installments left. We could, ignore this from the DTI. Certain things like that. When before it was like, nope, I'm not looking for any way to work around this. You can't afford it. You're done.
Interesting.
Are we seeing more diverse underwriting and back-end processing?
Question.
More diverse underwriting?
Yeah, and like back-end processing and
That's a great question. Yeah,
because the reason I'm saying that is because each culture have their own niches and things. So something one culture would do, another culture won't really know why they do it, and they might question it and can deny it for that specific reason.
I know what you're saying. I know exactly. So yes, I would say that it is getting more diverse, right? So like, say for instance, I had a situation where there was like a Susu account. That's
what I was going.
And that was
exactly. So, me personally, not saying that I have a Susu account, but I am familiar. It ain't called a Susu account, but I know what it's for, Everyone puts into the pot. Exactly. Everyone has a different name for it. So my family, we may all just put something in a pot and try to make it work. I'm familiar with that. But someone that is not from my background Exactly. But there is a way to definitely get a mortgage with a SUSU account. So
Let's talk about it without breaking any legal rules.
Well, put it like this: there's nothing illegal with a SUSU account, if I'm not mistaken.
No.
It's just more of the paper trail that the SUSU produces that raises the flag, right? So so there's nothing wrong with a SUSU account.
There's nothing wrong with a SUSU account. I just would say if you have a SUSU account, make sure you keep a paper trail of it. So this way, it'll be easier to get the lending. So if everyone's putting in, $200 a month, and there's like 20 people in there, in the SUSU, just make sure you keep a track of, this is what we put in. I can show you this is what we put in. We meet every month, and this is what I'm using for, my house to get it this time. And, if you do have an issue with that, then I would just tell you to go to a different lender, because there are definitely lenders that approve you with the SUSU, because a lot of lenders, or should I say loan officers, they're familiar with it, especially if they're any West Indian or Hispanic or African, they know what SUSU accounts are. So,
So if you were back in your underwriting phase, you see that, are you hitting them for a $200 payment because they have to
I am totally hitting you for a $200 payment. So if you have that SUSU account, you better be able to afford the $200 payment, because I know what it is. And I know that although you're getting the payout, you're going to have to give in for the next person that's getting it. So I personally would hit you for the $200 payment.
So
it's including your debt, but you can use it as assets.
Correct. So if you're paying $200 a month, because you're going to have to explain to me, right? I know what a SUSU is. So it really depends on your knowledge. Now, another underwriter may say like, all right, I'm just going to use the $200 or whatever the asset is, right? Because you're not using 200, but they're going to use whatever asset. They may not hit you with the $200 debt because they don't necessarily know what the SUSU is. I for sure am going to hit you with it because I know what it is. Every underwriting is, is different. But I would totally
different. Sometimes I've seen different underwriters calculate incomes differently.
Yeah, definitely. But I would definitely hit you with a $200 debt, because I know that you're going to have to pay into it, unless you give me something from the head of the SUSU that says like you're not paying, or they're done, like, they've already contributed.
This is the end of it.
Exactly, because there are some SUSUs where, you've paid into it for so long, now you're done. Like once you get your money, they will let you out. But for the most part, you're going to still be paying into the SUSU. So
it's so interesting to add on a debt when it's not part of your credit report.
Yeah, but that's just like child support. Child support may not be part of your IRS payment plan. It may not be on your credit report, but it is a
car
debt.
That's not on.
But isn't like, wouldn't you be responsible? But isn't that? I mean, I could see child support. I mean, that would be like almost showing up as a judgment as well.
Not necessarily, but if I see it out of your check, because it's not so child support doesn't have to be a judgment, and necessarily doesn't have to be on your credit report, but if I see it on your bank statement, or if I see it on your pay stub, I am definitely hitting you with that debt.
Is that you personally, or
no,
is that like
is
underwriting?
Period.
Okay.
Yeah, that's underwriting. Period. Exactly. But if you're consistently paying $200, and now you're telling me you're getting the funds, I'm still seeing that you're paying $200, and most likely I'm going to collect another bank statement while this process goes. And if I see the $200, I am for sure hitting you with the $200 debt. You would literally have to come up with a good explanation and a good story for me to not hit you with the $200 debt.
It kind of go both ways. So let's say you're paying for a car and you've been paying that monthly, they're gonna hit you with that payment on your credit report. But if two people are co-signing for the car and the other person is paying, they can omit that payment on your end.
Exactly.
Interesting.
So it goes both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, underwriters, it's an art and a science. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it just has to make sense, right? It just has to make sense.
Gotta make sense for everybody, not just you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. No, I don't have any. Listen, I don't have any problems with underwriting.
Yeah.
I actually have several problems with underwriting. I was
Let's clear that.
I was gonna say it's more the process, but the process is, they're bringing that stuff to us, but. No, I have a love-hate relationship with underwriters because I do appreciate the flexibility. It does hurt, it does help. I've seen transactions that, yes, like it, a letter of explanation or, hey, just switch this or wait a couple of days and we're good. So extremely thankful for not the so much of the rigid black and white, kind of scenario, without a doubt. Just puts a lot of stress when your paycheck's attached to it and you're like, hopefully They about to figure this out because I don't know how the hell this is about to work, but hopefully they figure this out. So, but yeah, no, shout out to all the underwriters. We know that we give y'all a lot of flack, rightfully so. We're just trying to make sure that things go forward, and we're trying to make sure everybody's taken care of.
Yeah, and you got to tell your clients too from the rip. Like you got to lay it out for them. Like when I start working with someone, as soon as I do like my initial consultation, I'm telling them, don't make any large deposits.
Yeah.
Don't take a leave of absence from your job. Don't make any large purchases. Make sure everything is in order. Don't try to move any money around, and use one bank account, because this is where people mess up. They start putting money all over the place. Now, an underwriter, it is my job to do my due diligence and ask you, where is this money going? Why do you have it in this account? Now I get a whole nother account and now I'm uncovering a bunch of stuff. I have to question it because at the end of the day, you may want the house, but I still want my job.
Right.
So I have to question.
Underwriters cannot unsee
Exactly.
what
You can't unsee what you saw. You can't say, for instance, you give me a deposit, because I've had clients is like, oh, I'm getting a gift from grandma, and they get the gift from grandma, say, for instance, in January, and they hit me up in March and want to go find a house. You do not give the bank statement from January. You give the bank statement from when you are starting. So if you're starting to look for a house, the most you go back, if you're in February, and you correct me if I'm wrong, and we're now in March, I'm going to wait to the end of February to give you another bank statement to get pre-approved. I'm not even going to try to give you January. Otherwise, now I got to prove this gift. And if you want to do FHA, now you got to source it. It is just too much work, So January was a bad month. Let's say December. Do not provide a December bank statement because you're going to have to provide the 2 months prior. So January and February is what the lender is going to ask for. Don't give me a bank statement.
Depending on DU, we could get away 1 month FHA.
Yes. But don't give me a bank statement. My point is, don't give me a bank statement with your grandmother's money that you got as a gift. Like, just wait and clear that out and just give me.
Let it be seasoned.
Exactly. Season the funds.
Make the
Absolutely.
underwriter's job easier. They'll make life easier for you.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, it's just paper trail. So if you have 2 accounts and you keep moving money back, then you have a 3rd account. They want to see the paper trail from all accounts.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So if you have 1 account, it's easier.
Yes. Keep it all in one account. Don't do transfers in between.
Don't redact. Do not redact.
Yes.
Information from.
Be careful with Zelle payments. I'm just saying, like, this is like.
Remember that meme I sent you? Did I send it to you?
I don't know, possibly.
Something about my cousin sent me Zelle and he put a comment. It was like a naughty comment, and now my underwriter's questioning this transaction.
But
Zelle don't normally put the
Venmo does. Venmo be the feds.
Venmo does. Yes.
Okay, so that's what it is. So it probably was
Venmo
Venmo.
be the feds.
Yeah, so definitely like be careful with Zelle payments and Cash App and stuff like that. If you're paying like a daycare or anybody you pay to, like my mom's name is Bernadette. You see a payment going out to Bernadette. I'm going to ask you, why are you paying Bernadette $100 every week? I got to ask you that,
Yeah.
If it's a recurring, like I'm going to ask you, like, why are you paying her $100 every week,
So what percentage of deposits would you question as an underwriter? If it's, let's say you're buying a house for $500,000. I know it's based off.
Yeah, so I mean, it depends. Some underwriters base it, like some underwriters do 1% of the loan amount, and then some, who's like a little more. I don't want to say conservative, but maybe not as less conservative. They may say like as long as it's not more than half of your monthly income. It really depends. For the most part, the rule of thumb is supposed to be 1%.
1% of the loan amount or purchase price? Sorry.
Loan amount.
Yes.
1% of the loan amount as far as entering.
So if you have a $400,000 loan amount, they're going to question anything that's over $4,000.
Let's say we had 2 deposits of $3,000. Would you question it because
absolutely.
It's $6,000?
Yes, absolutely.
So it's the 1% over the course of the month.
Yeah, it's in that
cash
month.
Deposits. Yeah.
Yes, cash deposits.
Cash deposits only.
Yeah, so
or
not
Zelles, if you Zelles a cash deposit.
Right.
Yeah,
But any funny money, obviously not your salary or your paychecks and stuff like that.
Salary.
But
yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
No bonuses either because it should say from your employer.
Yes.
Correct. Yes.
All right, so you did conventional. Did you switch over to anything else after conventional underwriting?
I did. I got into hard money. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so I got into hard money.
And which
this is-
underwriting process do you like the best?
I like conventional.
Even
So
over hard money.
So hard money is a little bit more. Don't get me wrong. The underwriting part is easy.
Right.
It's just the scope of work and actually listen to people tell you their plans for the property. It's like, oh my gosh, this
Okay.
doesn't make any sense. You know, so that is
And there's no guidelines to really follow.
there's no guidelines to follow.
Gotcha.
Which is why I thought it would be easier. Which
It
you said
is-
naturally it is, but it seems
it
like
is-
it's tedious when you're trying to get like
It is
creativity
very
involved.
tedious when it comes to the scope of work, because remember, at the end of the day, with doing hard money, it's a big risk, right? And so that's why they charge you so much in the interest, because it's a big risk for them. If that ARV, which is your after repair value, is not where it's in line to be, then there's a higher risk for foreclosure. So the underwriter has to catch that in the beginning. And if the underwriter doesn't catch that in the beginning, then you get it on the back end when now the money has already started being dispersed out. So it's a little bit more tedious to me than,
Did
conventional
you do
underwriting.
anything else non-QM related besides hard money, or just it was just
DSCR
You did DSCR? Mm-hmm. What you like about it, DSCR or
or hard money.
conventional?
Still conventional.
That's pretty okay.
I mean, it's pretty
DSCR
much the
is pretty
same.
straightforward.
I mean, DSCR is straightforward, but I don't know. I guess because maybe I've been doing it so long.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's just my preference. But DSCR is not bad. It's it's cool too. It's as long as it's over 1%, you're good.
Yeah. Well, some we can do under 1% if you have compensating factors.
Oh yeah, see, I don't do anything under 1. It
Okay.
has to be over 1 for me to approve it. Yeah.
When we say 1 is if the mortgage is 5,000, your rent is 5,000. That's 1.0.
Yes.
The DSCR.
Yes. It has to be breaking even or have a profit.
I still how would people approve that? There's no room for management fees. There's no room for repairs. I always thought it's
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. For me, it just has to make sense to me, right? I got to know what the rents are coming in like.
yeah.
I got to make sure that, you don't have anything extra like a flood, like it's in a flood zone. Now
Exactly.
you got to pay flood insurance, So it just has to make sense. If it makes sense to me, I mean, I think I'm pretty laid back as far as underwriting goes. The rent is off by $100. I'll give it to you. It's $100. You can make that up, I'm not going to go hard for like the rent is $2,200, and you need $2,300 to qualify. Sure. You charge your lease person. I'm expecting what you got to qualify for. Charge them $2,300, because it's not like you need the lease. You just need to know what the rents are. So DSCR is pretty easy.
What as we start our descent here, so what's next? Where do you see? I mean, obviously real estate's changing, kind of by the day here. We're all kind of seeing where Jersey goes as far as a market, at least for buyers. At least sellers are obviously doing well. What's kind of next for you? Do you see yourself staying in underwriting and just continuing to do tax sales on the side and your flips on the side, or
No.
do you think you'll do a full transition into?
No, so I did a full transition into real estate last June.
Oh, so okay, so you're all right. Got you. So this just happened. Okay, so just happened. Shout out into real estate just off of the realtor side and tax sales.
So tax sales I've been doing tax sales since 2013.
I got you. Okay.
So it's always going to be tax
part
sales
of
is
it.
always going to be part of it. I transitioned from my corporate job last June into sales as a realtor
Shout out.
full time. I still did underwriting, like a 1099, like a contractor on the side, just to
I was
kind of
going to ask
like,
if you can do that.
yeah, you can. It just, you can't do, like, I can't be your underwriter and your realtor,
Right.
but I can.
Right.
Find the
But-
house and I approve it for you.
Yeah, but I
Gotcha.
can do it on the side,
Okay.
but it cannot intermingle. So yeah, but I did stop underwriting in October of last year.
Okay.
And it's just been sales full time.
Nice.
So for
Shout
me,
out.
it's definitely going to be sales. I like the flexibility. I like having my own schedule. I probably will dabble back and forth into underwriting because fortunately, people just want me to underwrite if they have too much workload or they just need somebody to kind of pick up, some extra files. So then I don't mind doing it. But I'm definitely going to be more on the investor side. So it's going to be a realtor and then just getting back into investments.
I love it. I love it.
Where can people find you if they want to book consultant for either
Yes.
review a LE for them or any tax liens information?
So my Instagram is Kurtia.therealtor. So that's KURTIA.therealtor. And then my Facebook page is Kurtia Thomas. And my phone number and everything is on my page. I'm not going to blurt my phone number right now, but you can definitely find me on Instagram at Kurtia.therealtor. My number is on there. And, you can shoot me a text, and I'm definitely available if you have questions.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we definitely appreciate you taking the time to come out. I know you're running around here, especially in the realtor life and moving and doing what you got to do. So greatly appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
What's one thing that you would leave the guests with, especially with tax sales, because it's a fascinating topic and a lot of people are on it. For anybody that's thinking about getting into that particular space or niche with real estate investing, what's one piece of advice that you can leave them with over the course of this year for them to do maybe their first deal?
I would tell them that don't ever think you need to have a bunch of money to start. You literally can go to a tax sale with a few $100s. You just have to do your work and, prioritize what you want to do. If you want to make money, this is tax time. Take your taxes, look into municipalities and start getting those lists, because you can use your tax refund and you can buy 7, 8 tax liens. So, never think that you have to have all this money to start investing in real estate.
I love it. As always, for everybody that's listening, we hope that, we're obviously giving you the blueprint so that way you're able to take some actionable steps in order to make your business goals come true. We're trying to bring as many heavy hitters and experienced real estate professionals on to give you those gems for you to be able to take action. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share. Let's keep sharing this sugar. Let's keep sharing this value. As always, your humble host, Austin, more than an agent, with my Dominicano hermano, my co-host, John Soto. John does real estate. And today's guest, Kurtia Thomas. This is the Real Estate Blueprint Podcast, signing off.